Hi, this is Pam with ROC Metaphysical, and we're doing another interview today. So ROC Metaphysical is all one word, .com, and it's a magazine. It's an online magazine where I have articles that come out the first of each month. And I have writers from all over, and today we're going to be talking to Melissa, who's been a contributing writer. Just as a step back too, you can find ROC Metaphysical on Facebook and Instagram, and new articles the first of each month. And then there's event information and calendar stuff and advertising. So I think it's a great magazine. So, I'll put my own shout out for that. And so now we're going to get into interviewing. And so one of the purposes of this is to interview the writers and to understand who they are and where they've been and the path to where we are today. So I think it's helpful to know. So I met Melissa a few years ago, and she's from Central New York, where I'm originating from. So, there's a little bit of a connection there. And so Melissa, you're a psychic medium, and we met at a fair. So, and we've talked, and so I know you were a teacher for I don't know how many years, so I'm going to let you step in and kind of tell me your path of where have you been and what are you doing?
Oh my gosh, Pam, I'm so excited to be here. It's been a few years. Like I think back like when I met you, and it's been longer than I think. And I've really enjoyed submitting my blog articles to ROC Metaphysical, and your readers has been really cool. I actually started stepping into my evidential mediumship just about a decade ago, and I'd always been part of spirit, had always been a part of me. I'd always been an empath, like I'd always been clairsentience, where I could feel the vibe of a room, or, and it was definitely a survival mechanism of, growing up very traumatized from an early age. And so, putting myself in patterns of self-sabotaging relationships, not having really core relationships, it was a situation where it just got to a point where spirit was my best friend, really listening to my gut instinct, really always relying on that skill or ability in every situation. And so it was about 2010, 2012, my life really started kind of falling apart. And for those of you who are kind of in the spiritual community, that's when the harmonic convergence was going on, and a lot of people were starting to wake up at that time. And that's when it really came into my life, where it was like, okay, I'm really going to be in connection with spirit. But it wasn't for another about 5 to 7 years before I really started doing readings but my path to evidential mediumship was really spirit pushing me. This was never anything I thought I would do. Like if you had told me in 2012, after losing my full-time career of teaching, I had been teaching professionally for about 7 years. I was late to the game, having gotten my degree in 2005 at 30 years old. So everything I've done in my life has been kind of like the second half. And so this was it with spirit too. Becoming an evidential medium was not ever on my radar. That was something that spirit kind of kept pushing and pushing and pushing. And it just got to the point where I was like, okay, I have to follow what I'm being guided to do. So I started giving readings and going to fairs and meeting great folks like you and other readers and networking with my tribe. Like I finally found a tribe. I had people I could talk to this stuff about. So it was really cool. And I was starting to do classes. So not only was I encouraged by spirit with no way of getting out of it, of giving readings and sharing my evidential mediumship, but then it was about teaching, using my teaching background to teach evidential mediumship. So I started teaching in-person courses in Auburn, New York, and then COVID hit. And it was like, oh, what am I going to do now? Because I've been doing my readings, I've been doing my teaching, like all of that had been in person. So it was really, really stretching myself, because how do you teach evidential mediumship over a computer, right? So it really got to a point where I had to understand that Spirit's all around us. The field is all around us. So when we're in the field or when we're with spirit, it doesn't matter if we're on the same continent, let alone in the same room. So I found that my classes translated very well onto the online forum. And so I did the majority of everything online virtually for 2 years, the past couple of years, but we're getting back into in-person. I'm so excited. So,
Yeah. So just a step back, did you take any classes to help you with your evidential mediumship, or it just all came so naturally that?
oh, no, I didn't take classes because what I do, so whenever I need something, I say, Spirit, bring me what I need, right? So it was one of those situations where I literally lay down in bed and I was like, okay, like, you want me to teach this, you want me to share this, but I have to build a course. Like, I'm a teacher, I got a teaching background, I got to have a course, right? I got to have a curriculum, I got to have a syllabus, like, I got to have the stuff. So I literally laid in bed and I was like, please bring me what I need, because I don't know where to go. Like, I don't know who would I take a class from? Like, who could I trust? Like, because there's, you have to resonate with the people that you're learning from. And I was like,
Right.
and I didn't even know where to go. Like, I had no idea. So I remember popping up from my bed and I grabbed my phone, because, we all have our phone next to our bed. And like, literally I went to Amazon and there were 2 books that popped right up. And I took those 2 books. One was on mediumship and one was on channeling, believe it or not. And I bought those 2 books that night, right there, midnight. They came 2 days later and then I devoured them, and I was an English teacher. So reading is my thing. Like, I literally, and then I started making notes, and then I had an outline. And then, so I married a lot of the different things that I've been feeling. And then the things that the foundation that these books were providing. So like, who are your spirit guides and what are the spirit senses? And, just all that foundational stuff that I didn't even have myself, because I was just kind of getting downloads and sharing my mediumship and kind of almost like, trial by fire, like just learning as I went. Some readings were not so great. Some readings were wonderful. So, and just learning about that too, like, why did spirit come through really, really well with this person, but this other person, I just felt like I was trudging through mud the whole time. Like, it was really hard to sense the spirit. I wasn't really getting a good visual. And then learning about how energy amplifies. So anybody that's coming to you who is more open, it's going to amplify your energy, and that reading will go much easier. Where if you've got a nervous Nelly or a naysayer sitting in front of you, it's almost like you got to like get over the hurdle of the wall, the blockage that they're putting up, because they want to believe, but they don't believe, or they can't believe.
Right. So that, I'd have to say that's kind of amazing, because you think other people that I know have, done a 2-year course, have spent lots of time and money developing their gifts. So I say kudos to you for finding your own way and doing the homework and gathering the information. And you're probably just the same as if people are familiar with Lilydale. Like, if you went to Lilydale and took a formal training, it sounds like to me, you've gathered all that information and are doing exactly the same. The only, the old school would be, they like that certificate. And that's old school. I think it's going to change as we grow. And this is an opinion, I should say, that as things change and we become more open, are we really going to need that certificate to know that you are doing the work and are a quality person, other than people will recommend you? And I always recommend that to people, that you should always do your homework when you're going to sit with a person and verify that the person is trustworthy, that they're working from the highest level, that they're able to work with you. Or if you're not able, I have friends and people that I know that do this will say, I'm having difficulty. And they will say, would you like to reschedule? Or if it's a group situation, go to another reader in hopes that it would work with someone else.
No, that's so true. And I love that, Pam, because you're right. If we don't resonate, like if you don't resonate where I am spiritually, emotionally, mentally, physically, like if you just don't feel me, you don't, and I don't feel you, like we're not going to have a good situation. We're not going to have a good reading. And one of the things I will tell you about any reading you come to me for, whether it's a medium reading or a guidance reading, like I am super honest. And if I don't know, I'm going to tell you I don't know. And there have been people, especially in kind of like a phone reading situation, who literally hung up on me before, and that's okay. I can honestly say, because of what I do and how important it is to me to always do my best, you know, I've never had to do like a refund situation for a bad reading. But I'm very honest. So I do preface people when they're booking with me, like, I'm not going to tell you what you want to hear. I'm going to tell you what spirit brings me, because spirit's always going to bring you what you need, not what you want.
I know. I've had people tell me things that I was like, that's not the answer I wanted to hear. Can't you go back and tell them that I don't like that? And, you know, a friend of mine who, I've seen, she goes, no, they know you're stubborn and you need to listen to what they are telling me to tell you. So you need to pay attention. So, yeah.
Yeah. And I've had people come to me, Pam, and be like, Melissa, you kind of told me the similar thing last time. And I'm like, did you make any changes? And they're like, oh, no. Like, well, if you didn't make changes or do something different, then spirit doesn't have anything different for you.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So
we're oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, we're here for free will choice. So, you know, some people like they don't understand that spirit is not going to tell you what to do. That's not their role. They're going to guide you and give you what you need to make an informed decision, but you still have the choice whether or not to go a certain direction or go in the direction you want to go in anyway. What I tell people is, you know, you're going to have to circle back around at some point, and you will start to trust and act on what you're receiving, because that trusting and acting on, that's giving you alignment. That's giving you what I call the shortcut. So if you can trust what you're receiving, whether it's your own gut or somebody that you've been working with for a while, that you know that they're really connecting, and you want to make sure you're doing that, you're having discernment about who you're working with, very important. But yeah, once you get to that place, it's like you have to trust and act on what you're receiving, or you're going to kind of stay in the same old pattern or stay in the same blockage.
And so, and my friends remind me that spirit guides or whoever's bringing through information sometimes is brutally honest. And they're not going to sugarcoat, you know, what you would think you're going to hear. I mean, as an example, my grandmother came through to a woman, and she was questioning my responsibility of punishing my child. And my grandmother was like, why are you being so wishy-washy? You should be doing more to be more stern. And I was like, what?
No, it's true. I mean, I can't tell you in how many different readings where I'm like, oh, I get something, and then I'm like, okay, I have to deliver this the way it's coming through, but boy, is this going to be in your face. So yeah, if you've got a no nonsense crossed over loved one, they come across no nonsense. So, you know, in my courses, that's what I teach. Like, you don't filter it. You're not the filter. You're the channel. You just bring through the information. You can preface it. And sometimes if I have to use bad language, I'll say, you know, pardon me, but this is what they're saying. And then, you know, you'll oftentimes, the majority of the time, you'll get, oh my God, that's exactly what they would have said. And I'm like, oh, thank goodness, because that was kind of, you know, crude. But, you know, if you've got some, you know, stronger male personality who was no nonsense in this life, and he said it like it was, and I have to deliver it like he, you know, would. But right, that's usually the thing that turns the tide for the person that's sitting on the other side going, is my loved one here? And then you say that thing and you can see the light bulb go on, and they're like, oh my gosh, that's my person. She wouldn't have known that. There's no way she would have known that. And so it's so important as a medium to just allow it to come through you and not filter it. Because if you're filtering it, you're going to lose something that probably the person you're sitting with needs.
Right. So it's not like my grandma sitting on a cloud playing, you know, a harp, and no, she's going to be who she was.
Yes.
You know, and she was pretty honest and forthright. So I thought that was a long time ago when I was just starting, and I thought, wow, that was pretty nervy of her. You know, now she's on the other side, but I know now that that's just how it is. And a good evidential medium provides, and I've talked to other people, there's some kind of characteristic, something very specific, like if they wore pink sweaters and they liked mint cookies. There's things that's very specific, and that's what a good evidential medium does, is
And
gives
that's it. Yeah, I have a list of that I provide in the class that I do, the course that I teach, of evidence. But for me personally, the evidence that typically comes through is like how they died, because I do get the physical sensation. So I can pinpoint how they died. I can pinpoint usually what they did for a living. They'll bring that through. I do see them. I see them in black and white, which is interesting. It's like looking at a black and white TV. So I usually try to describe the clothing and the hair and anything that I'm seeing physically, characteristically, as in detail as I can. So that, again, how would I know those characteristics or those details? And so I do try to provide as much evidence, because you really, really want the person sitting on the other side who's there for some kind of message or information to know that their loved one is there. And so I do try to provide as much evidence as I can before we get to the message, so that when the message is delivered, it can be received.
Right. And so the other thing too is, since I know you're working at a very high ethical level, that if you had awareness of illness, you would find a way to gently tell the person. And if you had a sense of something very serious, and I guess I'm getting to is, you're not going to say, oh, you're going to die in 2 weeks. I mean, that is not.
No, Pam, one of the things I say is very strictly in my course, you never predict death, because what I know personally and professionally, again, it goes back to free will choice. You're going to die when you're ready. And I know personally for people who I thought were going to die 2 years prior than they actually did, because their free will was to say, I'm staying. Like, they kept getting their family members coming saying, come with me. And they kept going, no, 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 I'm not going. So they did have, I mean, it wasn't real quality of life, but they were here for an extra 2 years, still staying in the physical, because that's what they were choosing to do. They could have chosen to cross over, but they didn't. So one of the things I always tell people is, I will not predict death. And I tell people that I work with, do not predict death, because we can't. We can't.
Right. I mean, and you could say it'll happen in 2 years, and then it could happen tomorrow.
Exactly.
So, and that's not your job.
No.
You know,
I'm very honest with people about that. Yeah, no, I do not predict death. And I make sure that that's one of the things in my course, in working with the people that I'm teaching, that we have that conversation, because it's just not, I mean, you can have a soul contract that says you're, only going to be here so long, but that soul contract's written in invisible ink. That can change at any time. And again, one of the things about incarnating and being here in the physical is to have that free will choice. And so I'm not going to try to infringe on that in any way. So it's really important that, again, who you're working with, you want to make sure that they kind of, have integrity with what they're doing. It's very important.
Right. And I've tried to have people talk about that, because when I go to public events and people come and say, well, I was thinking about getting a reading, but are they going to tell me bad stuff? And I said, I certainly hope not. If they do, I would say they're not working at the highest level.
That's it. That's it. You know, one of the things I teach in the foundation of evidential mediumship is talking about the emotional chart that actually Abraham Hicks had put out years ago when she was channeling Abraham, or Esther Hicks was channeling Abraham, and she did the emotional chart, which is vibrational frequency. And so if you're not working with someone that's up above boredom and contentment into joy, compassion, integrity, love, they're working down in fear, betrayal, anger, and grief. You want to run, because they're not going to give you anything that will be beneficial at all. And in fact, may even be sharing their own fears. I've actually had readings from people who were friends of mine. And in the middle of the reading, I knew this wasn't about me. This was about her. She wasn't able to separate herself out of the energy enough to be able to read for me. So you want to be really discerning about what you're hearing. And if you're really hearing something that in your head is going ding, 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 that don't feel right, yeah, that's where you really want to say, thank you, but we're done. Because there's something with that reader. Again, it may not be intentional. They may not even know they're doing it if they're, unconscious. So I never want to, call anybody out. But if you're having a reading with someone and maybe you've never read with them before, or they were referred, and it may not be a match, and that's okay. But if you really do have that gut feeling that I'm hearing something that's really not right, or this doesn't feel good, then it probably would be a good idea to say, thank you, but I have to go.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. So I hope as people watch these videos that we help them know what they should be doing. Just like if you're buying a car, you're getting a recommendation, you like how that person operates, and there's their website, or they have handouts so you can see what kind of background they have, how long they've been doing it. Generally, I would say people who have been doing it longer have developed a way of doing things and have realized how they work and have a good technique, I guess I should say.
No, it's very true. I had been doing this for about 5 years, and I realized that I was having my own hurdles, my own issues. Like there were things that I was not able to overcome in my own life, to get out of my own way with, some hurts, some traumas, some lower frequencies. And so I actually stepped into doing some energy healing work that I was going to do for myself. And I wanted to learn it for the attunements, so that you can get that connection to the vibration. But then as I stepped into it, it was something that I really wanted to share because it had been so impactful in my life. So I actually became, just about 3 years ago, a master instructor with integrated energy therapy. And it's been profoundly changing for not only myself, but the other people that I've worked with. And so what I would say is, if you're looking for a reader, or you're looking for someone as a medium to kind of go to for guidance, and, make sure they're doing their own work. Make sure they're still kind of doing, progressive things. Like if you're someone that, has been doing, if you go to someone who's been doing it for, say, 25 years, but they're still doing it the same way, you kind of want to be a little, again, discerning about, are they providing quality, living in light, in the higher frequencies, resonating, in the higher frequencies, to be in connection with spirit guides that are of the light or higher vibration. So I would say, making sure that you're just, like you said, you get the background. I have my website, and what I really love for myself, I've got some beautiful testimonials from people who've worked with me, but that's one of the things that I look for when I want to work with someone is, those testimonials and what other people think about them. So, definitely lots of places to go to kind of find out more about me and who I am, whether it's my website, guidance311.com, or you can get me at guidance311 on YouTube, or at guidance311 on Instagram, and facebook.com/guidance311. So, that's the other thing, how transparent are the people being that you're wanting to work with. But that is where my journey has taken me now. Not only do I have the mediumship courses that I do, but I'm also teaching the integrated energy therapy to anybody who wants to learn it, because integrated energy therapy works with the angels. It works with high vibrational frequency to go in and root out the issues in your tissues, because sometimes we don't know what's holding us back. And that was my issue. I had a hurdle. I could feel it. I had a blockage. I could feel it, but I couldn't get to it. I didn't know what it was. I had done forgiveness. I had, really worked on forgiving. I'd worked on getting into gratitude. I'd worked on my lack mentality around money and finances. Like I'd really been doing work, and I still wasn't having the life I wanted. I still wasn't having the relationships I wanted. I still wasn't having that kind of like grace and ease of just enjoying life. Like I still felt tense. I still felt angry. And that's what integrated energy therapy helped me do, was to really root out those issues in my tissues that I was holding on to.
So do you do that now in person?
So what's wonderful about that is, just like mediumship, I don't have to be in your space. Like we don't have to be in the same, it is a hands-on modality. So if you want to come in person, if you're in my area, absolutely, we can do an in-person session. But that was one of the beautiful things about this, was that I could do it very virtually. So a distant session works just as profoundly as an in-person session. We do an intention setting where we talk for about 15 minutes before the session to kind of have you set an intention as to where you think you have a blockage or where you want the angels to kind of come in and assist with. But they are going to kind of go in and really start to transform, the blockages that you're having. And so one of the beautiful things, because I am a medium, I do get information in your session. I will be contacted by crossed over loved ones. I will see your spirit guides. I will see the light codes that the angels are working with. I will kind of get an idea of what ascended masters are coming in. So it's a really cool type of healing, where not only are you getting benefit, but then we talk after the session and I kind of talk to you about what I experienced and where I saw the blockages. And for some people, where I see attachments being released. For some people, where I see some really dense energy. And sometimes I do get medical information for you as to, areas where you may be experiencing some problems. More often than not, it may be something that you've been thinking about having a problem, or you've been kind of experiencing, but hadn't really done anything about looking into. And so it's been really cool. That's kind of like a side benefit of IET. But for the most part, it's really that energetic transformation of rooting out where you're stuck, whether it's betrayal, resentment, anger, powerlessness, unworthiness is huge. And then transforming and putting in the support that you need in those areas and really releasing that blockage.
I think that's great. And I think that, just a step back, that just probably that's your teacher background. Like you need to always be learning more and getting your extra credits, your CEUs, I think they call them. That I think is a great idea as people get into this, that they, every once in a while step into a class and learn something new. It brings more tools to the table, which I think is a really great idea. I have done IET, and I forget how many angels are involved.
9.
And so the angelic realm is powerful, and you don't even really have to have a belief system if you're going to be a client and when you work on them. It's nice to know that you're working and doing what you need to do, but then there's higher level folks, like you said, ascended masters or angels will come in and work with you. And I think there's still a little bit of a connection after, if I remember right.
Oh yeah, no. And that's why the sessions that I do, I won't do sessions more than 3 weeks apart, because that integration is going to be happening for weeks after. So I can't tell you how many times someone's had a session. They're like, oh, I feel light. I feel better. This is great. And then a week later they call me. They're like, okay, I just cried for 3 hours. Now I know what it did. So it's definitely something that's working over time. And that's why I tell people, like, don't hesitate to get a hold of me. Like if you've got a question about something that you're feeling and you're not sure. So I've had so many people like contact me weeks later and be like, okay, Melissa, I had a really bad day. I was really emotional all day. Could that have been the IET? Yeah. Yeah, it was. So It's profound. And that's one of the things, I almost want to put a little disclaimer on my website, like, don't do this unless you're ready to release it. You're ready to change, because we're going to do some stuff. And one of the things that I do is for those people that are stepping into an IET journey, because I do call it a journey, I do have a package of 3 sessions, which is $100 off 3 individual sessions for people who are like, okay, I've been dealing with this for 20 years. I'm ready to be done with it. And then, we can really get in there, because the first session is always kind of like a balancing, like it just kind of balances your energy. And then it's really session 2 and session 3 that we start really kind of diving into the issues in your tissues and doing the profound work. So yeah, IET has been transformational in my own life, but then the people that I've worked with, absolutely everybody, whether they've had 1 session or 10 sessions, they've all had huge advancement in their life, like positive advancement. Just
right.
Yeah, it's been beautiful. I knew I was going to like it. I knew it was something that was really going to be transformational, but it has become a passion because it's so profound. And it's exactly what we need in these energies. With all of these people spiritually awakening, with all of the ascension that people are going through, it really does help you, especially for those of you who are wanting to step into your spirituality, your mediumship, your clairvoyance, like whatever it is you're wanting to do with the connection. Whether you want to share it or not, but it is going to allow you to be able to live in that space of having that connection and trusting and acting on it in a way that staying in those lower frequencies just does not allow you to do.
All right. So now let's see, teacher, now psychic medium, IET Master Teacher. And then I know you do a weekly YouTube video yourself as another way of putting out information. And we were kind of talking about this before I hit the record button. So talk about what you do with your co-conspirator.
My co-conspirator, yes, Dr. Thomas. So Dr. Thomas and I do consciousness conversations every week, Thursday at 3:30. It is a YouTube live and a Facebook live. I stream it on both platforms, but there is a playlist on my YouTube channel at Guidance 311 for consciousness conversations with Dr. Thomas. And he is a channeler. He is channeling in most of the videos. He channels a little bit. We talk. But basically, these are great conversations because we're tapping into the energy. Usually that Monday, we kind of talk real briefly. It's usually just a messenger Facebook thing. Like, what do you want to talk about this week? And then we just get on that half hour. It's 30 minutes. We keep it 30 minutes and we talk about that topic. And so it could be forgiveness. It could be ascension. It could be betrayal. It could be actually in the past couple of weeks, we've actually since the new year, one of the themes for this new year that we got as a download was recovery. So we've been talking about different ways to go about recovery in this year. And the last conversation we had was actually about perception and how to change your perception. So, we just really tap into the energy and we talk for 30 minutes each week about what seems to be coming up. Sometimes we've talked about astrology. We've talked about, just all kinds of different topics that have to do with waking up and this new earth energy and this 5D consciousness. So yeah, it's not just mediumship, it's the energy, it's this new earth that we're, evolving into in the 5D consciousness.
Well, when I have an opportunity, I especially like when I'm home doing things, I turn on YouTube and listen to different topics and people. So I guess I'm going to have to turn that on because it sounds very interesting to me. So is there anything else that you do that I don't know about?
For those of you who are really stepping into a spiritual awakening path and you need a mentor, one of the things that I have started is a membership portal for those of you who are stepping into 5D consciousness, who are waking up, who are needing help and support in becoming clairaudient, clairvoyant, clairsentient, being an empath, because that's really kind of how this all started for me, recognizing that I was an empath and what did that mean. And then those who really struggle with that empath narcissist relationship pattern. I actually just did a series of blogs on my website, guidance311.com. You can go and check that out. A series of blogs on empath-narc relationship, what it is, how it plays into soulmate relationships, how it plays into twin flame relationships. And then in the membership portal, I was actually able to do videos to complement those blogs that really goes in depth into what it means, how it affects you, how to get out of it, why it's important to recognize that you're in it, and what the pattern is. So that's been really kind of my baby this past couple of months, because it was a pattern that I, as an empath, had been going through. And I know this can be a devastating and debilitating relationship pattern and relationship type, especially for those of you who are experiencing it at the soulmate level, or especially at the twin flame level. So,
right, but it could be just friend, family member.
oh, absolutely.
Not a romantic relationship.
So true. So true. I mean, one of the narcissists that I've had to really overcome is my mother. And you want to talk about debilitating relationship. And that was one of the things that IET helped me to overcome, because how do you heal that connection? So yes, that has definitely been something that I've had to work on. So you're right. I thank you for pointing that out. It doesn't have to be just romantic. It can be the family. It can be the friend. Absolutely.
Yeah. And I think, and I'm generalizing, women tend to be, empathic and always want to be helpful and overly kind. And that is very nice, but there is a, what do you want to call it? You have a boundary. And I think, and maybe it's the era we grew up in, but I don't think boundaries are really taught. It was give all the time.
No, and it was one of the hardest things for me to even do, was to have a boundary or set a boundary. Oh my gosh, like it put me into panic mode to have to say no. I had to learn that no was a complete sentence. So yeah, that's definitely one of the things that we talk about in my membership portal, why that's important, and steps in which you can take to start doing it. But it's really important. Yeah. So yeah, that's definitely mentioned. Yeah, we talk about boundaries, we talk about self-love, we talk about self-awareness. That's the other big piece, really becoming self-aware that you are important, that you are worthy. That's a huge part of my practice, especially with the IET. Really rooting out those unworthiness issues, because they're deep and some of them are subconscious. And, we have to get into that theta brain state, or we have to work with the high frequencies of the angels, but it's not something we can just talk it out.
Right. Boy, you're busy. I thought I was busy. You and me, it's a miracle I get, 6 to 8 hours of sleep a night with everything that's going on. Same for you. And you have a beautiful grandchild.
I do. I have a new grandbaby. She's about 18 months old and just learning how to walk and talk and really getting into things. She's really starting to show her personality. I'm teaching her yes and no. And so she's really starting to communicate. It's so cute.
Well, do you think she's going to be intuitive like you?
Oh my gosh, she's already intuitive. She actually, yeah, like she's totally in communication with my brother and my father and her grandmother on her father's side. So yeah, I know she's totally connected.
Well, so grandma's there to give her good advice. So that's very, very nice. So you want to say your websites again so people have it? Because I like to tie up with that.
Sure. Yeah. Go to guidance311.com. It's all there. The membership portal, the blogs, my events, how to contact me for a reading. You can book right online, virtual or in person. It's all there. So it's super simple. And the times that I'm available will come up when you pick the day in the book online section. So it's all streamlined. Yeah. So guidance311.com, guys. And you can also get all my social media contact there too.
All right. Well, this has been great. And, I knew we'd go more than 10 minutes. So thank you.
Thank you.
So nice talking. I hope, we're going to see each other in person somewhere along the way.
I'm sure we will. I'm sure we will. Thank you so much for having me.
All right. So I'm going to say thank you, and I'm going to hit the stop button. So thank you.